Welcome to Visit Paul Daily. This is my second video in my new series of years versus visits, where I'm covering various different subjects, anything to do with business, home life, other things, and things I've done in the past, and things that might interest people. And so today, it's similar sort of time to yesterday. It's around about 6 p.m. and I'm in my little park here out in on the borders of Nottinghamshire. I just thought I'd sit down at the bench today and do something, but today I've actually brought my laptop with me because there's something else I'm going to cover as well, regarding somebody that what I call pitched me at the weekend on Facebook and tried to get me into their business. But as far as I can see, that she went round it about it the completely the wrong way. So I'm going to cover a little bit about that, and I'm going to read some of what she wrote to me, and some of it might make you chuckle because I'm sure you've had the same sort of thing too. But what I really wanted to cover today was 3 rules to follow, the 3 rules that I follow in life and that I've done over the years. And the first rule is do what's right. There's never been a right time to do the wrong thing, and there's never been a wrong time to do the right thing. But what we really want to do in life is do what's right. You know, you hear people say, well, I had a gut feeling. It was what was right. And I sometimes watch people in business, and I see what they're doing. I'm thinking, to me, that isn't right, you know, and they're doing something just to make money, you know, and it goes against my moral compass. But hey, that's just me. You know, I just want to do things that are right for me. We've all had injustices done to us over time, but you can't live your life, being bitter. You know, there's a right way and a wrong way of doing things. Don't live a bitter life either. I've met a lot of people that said, they're bitter, and they year after year they still seem bitter. Well, there's not a lot of point in that, because if you have a bitter life, then your partner will probably end up hiring 6 pallbearers to carry you because you haven't got 6 friends you can rely on. So that's not something to be having good either. The right thing is also to have a good attitude. And people say to me, do you ever get down? I said, yeah, I do now and again, but not for long. What's the point? You've got to have a good attitude. And a few years ago, when I used to do training events, I used to write the word attitude on a board or on the acetate or whatever the slide I was doing at the time. I'd write that word down in a straight line, so ATTITU and so forth, just in a straight line, not across. And then I'd ask the question, how many letters in the alphabet? And some people would put their hand up and say 27. So yeah, you're right, 27. 29 if you live in Norway, and that's a fact you may not have known. But so I said, so if letter A was number 1, and T was 20, and I was 5 or whatever, do that. So they would sit down and they would work out what numbers went to the relevant letter in the word attitude. And when you get to the bottom, I said, right, now you've got all the numbers there, add them up. And they come to 100. I said, funny that, when your attitude is straight, you're 100%. You're probably a good husband, good father, good co-worker, good parent, good friend. I said, but it all depends on attitude. So just try and keep your attitude straight. Sometimes we get off course, and it's, you just got to get back on there. But also, don't spend your life, and I'm guilty of this, and I try and stop it now. Don't spend your life telling people all your problems, because 90% of them don't care, and the other 10% are glad it's you and not them. So there's no point in just wallowing on your problems. And in marketing that I've done for nearly 40 years, we've always looked at what we're doing as you've got to get your story out there. And it's your story. My mentor Jim Rohn always said, the story will predict your future with the business. You've got to create your story. So you've got to create something good in a matter of time. And sometimes over the years, when we've just had this injustice done to us, we feel that someone hasn't been right and company hasn't been right and we've got ripped off. We keep telling that story, and I'm guilty of that, and for the last few years, I've been telling people about my 2016 story where I lost so much money, well over $200,000, ended up losing my home and everything else. And I'm thinking, I've got to stop telling this story. It's not a very pleasant motivational story. And I came back to England from Spain, and I've started all over again. Well, there's lots of people like me that have started all over again, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I learnt from one of the best. There's a man called Les Brown, and Les always said, if you fall out the sky, make sure you land on your back, because if you can look up, you can get up. And he's dead right. I've fallen out the sky a few times, and you've got to get up, And as a lot of you might know, my email address, I've had incomedriven@gmail.com for many, many, many years. And somebody once asked my ex-wife, can you describe Paul in one word? And she said, driven. I said, "Oh." She said, "Doesn't matter what happens to him. There's no stopping him. He's going to get back up and he's going to start all over again, because nobody, can tell him he can't do it, and whatever happens, he'd get back up again." And it was quite funny, because I ended up writing a publishing course, which was a 9 or 10 part small booklet thing that it's like a self-publishing course, and it was a business opportunity. And the first book, number 1, was free, and we used to do a mail order and put it in the mail to people, and then it was $39.95 a month for the next 9 copies, and they had the reproduction and resale rights to buy that whole course, and each module had a different subject. But module number 4 was called Driven. And it was driven in the fast lane, because at the time I had a wedding car business. So that module, that one book, was all about how to start a wedding car business if you had a classic car, from start to finish, where you can now average £300 on a weekend for 3 hours work using your lovely classic car that you bought for nostalgia reasons. So it's different things in life that you think will hold you back actually propel you forward if you do that. So Jim Rohn used to say to me, it's not what happens to you that makes a difference in how your life works out, it's what you do about it. And that's very true. But the main thing is, have some fun with it. Have some fun. Rule number 2 is do everything to the best of your ability. And I've always done that. I've had a lot of jobs and different things over the years, and various businesses. But my dad was from the northeast, and the way we were brought up is you would do your best, do 9 or 10 hours worth of work, and for 8 hours worth of pay, or you'll deal with me, boy, no matter how big you get. And that was his philosophy. My old dad, and that's how we were brought up. And I come from I brought up in a council house in Sunbury-on-Thames in Middlesex, and we had a good life. We always had plenty to eat, and my dad always had sort of regular jobs. He was a coalman for a year, then he was an engineer for donkey's years, and we never had holidays, and we never expected them, and we never moaned and complained about it. As I said, we always had plenty to eat. And when it was dinner time and I would ask for seconds, my dad would look across and say, "You've had plenty." So we always have plenty to eat. But I think I get my work habits and my work ethic from my dad, because I never ever remember my dad having a day off work, ever, even when he was ill. And for many years, up until I was about 14 years of age, he used to cycle to work, and he'd probably cycled 10-12 miles in the rain and storm and snow and whatever. And it wasn't until I was about 14 years of age that we actually got a car. We got a little Morris 1000 Traveller, which we found was fabulous at the time. We thought that was amazing. And my mum, I think I get my kindness, because people do say I'm kind. I do try to be kind, and it's in you, I think. And I think I get my mum's kindness. My mum was from Stoke-on-Trent, and she would do anything for anybody, and she would give anything to anybody. Come Christmas, my dad had to sort of make some wooden blocks and put them underneath the legs of our table, because she would make all the neighbours 24 mince pies each, which is a colossal amount. Just our immediate neighbours, but it went into the hundreds, and she spent all Christmas and the break in Christmas and New Year making these mince pies so people can celebrate with them. But that was just her way, and there was nothing to stop her doing that. She would always say, "No, I'm going to do it." Well, have a year off, Emily, because she was we named our eldest daughter after my mum. Have a year off. No, I always do that. So they're traits, but I do think we're hardwired for kindness, but we're educated for greed. We're very kind when we're kids. We do all these sort of things. Then we grow up and get jobs, and then we start looking what's going on, and we get into business. And sometimes you kind of ask the question, what's enough? And you just get greedier and greedier and greedier. And then they want the lottery syndicate thing. And now we've got the internet. Everyone wants instant, overnight riches and successes, and it doesn't always work that way. So. When I was a kid, we didn't have, all them things like welfare and stuff like that, like we've got today. There's a lot of things helping us today that we didn't have back then, And people say, they're better times back then. And you look at it in nostalgia, I think actually they were better times back then, because people were still happy and they were still doing things. Just following some notes here. I think, and I've covered that thing. So as I say, number 2 rule is do your best, because if you do your best, you never have to apologise, ever. If you've done your best in the business that you're in, it doesn't matter what business you're in, it could be an online, offline, it could be a shop. If you've done your best, if you work in a hotel, if you work in catering, whatever it is you do, if you do your best, that day that you've never got to apologise to your boss or anybody else, because you will stand out that you've done your best, and other people will see that. And I think, you can judge a lot of people by how many friends, well, what kind of friends they've got in life. I've had most of my friends now way over 40 years, you know, and Facebook is annoying to some people, but I found it quite good because I've got in touch with a lot of my old school friends, and LinkedIn and things like that. People actually I went to school with that were, you know, were really young. I'm just going into something happened here. It's just not giving me my page that I wanted offline. No, I might have to come back to that. That's a shame. And so I'm still in touch with a lot of these people I used to at least we go to school with. You know, I was 12, 13, 14 years of age, and you know, we're still in touch to this day. So Facebook could be a good thing or a bad thing. The page I wanted, well, I've got my laptop here. That I made some notes about a girl that pitched me on Sunday morning, but the page has gone off because I'm out in the field and the internet's not stretched, and it's not, because it's a Chromebook, it's not allowing me to do to read the page offline for some reason. It should do, but it hasn't done. So things don't always go to plan, do they? But there we go. If it will come up again, I will read it out, but I don't think it will do. It's not saying it's allowing me to do that, so not to worry. But anyway, rule number 3 is to show people you care. You know, and that's, I do think you'll get far in life, and you'll get far with friends and people that you've come across if you show that you actually care. People, you know, don't care what you do in life; they just want to know that you care. Don't walk into a room saying, "Here I am." Walk into a room saying, "There you are. What can I do for you? What can I do to help you?" You know, and that's really what I've tried to do with my life, is rule number 3. What can I do to help other people? I've just met a woman on this little park bench. She was here with some kids on a bike, and she said, "Oh, you know, I hope we're not interrupting." I said, No, I'm just reading some notes, and I'm just about to make a video. She said, "Oh, make a video about what?" So I explained my years versus visits. And she's like she works for a school, but for little children that struggle to get into certain schools and things. And she said, "I really like that. You're making me think now about visits." And she said, "My dad lives in Norfolk." I said, "Well, so does my daughter." And she said, "They're in the 70s and they may be moving over here, but he hates being his age, you know." And I said, "Well, how old is he?" She said, 73. I said, "Well, tell him for his next birthday, try putting 73 years into his 74th year, because he's probably got lots of stories, lots of things to tell you that you don't even know about yet." One of my biggest regrets was that when my dad passed away at 82, I knew where he come from. He come from Whitley Bay in the northeast, in Newcastle, and I knew his mother had a wireless shop. So they weren't poor when he was young. To have a wireless shop, to have a little radio shop, you know, they must have had a reasonable lifestyle, which was good. But I always I should have said, "Dad, let's go back up to Whitley Bay. Come and show me where that wireless shop was. It probably isn't there now, but show me where it was. Show me where you used to go. Show me your local pub. Show me where, you know, where you used to work. Is it still there?" And I wished I'd done all those sort of things, you know, and we don't, because we're so busy being busy. And I think sometimes, you know, we've got to ask the questions, you know. And I said to her once, and she said, "You've really made me think about this visits." I said, "Well, I'm making another video. This is just number 2." And she said, "I'd like to see number 1." I said, "Well, if you've got your phone there," I always have cards on me, always. And today I've got a different pair of trousers on. I haven't moved my cards from one pocket to another. So I said, "You've got your phone?" She said, "Yeah." I said, "Ring me. I've got your number, you've got mine. I will then text you and send you that video from yesterday." And she said, "Well, can I have today's as well?" I said, "Okay." And I'm just out in the park here, just come up to make that. But just connecting with people, you know, and just saying, she said, "I really like that idea." And I said, "Well, imagine if we could pass that idea on." You know, yesterday I got some lovely feedback from people in Australia, people in New Zealand, as well as America and the UK, from the first one I did yesterday. And I thought, well, if I could get them to pass that philosophy on, you know, let's not try and live our life in years, because we don't know how many we've got, and it's not being more, it's being realistic. Let's try and live it in visits. Well, let's visit people more. Let's get on. When you finish with this video today, think about for the next 10 or 15 minutes, who can I ring before the evening goes, before the day goes? Some of you it's morning, some of it's afternoon, some of it's evening. Who can I ring? So, you know, kindness. And that's what really number 3 is about. You know, show people you care, you know, and be kind. You know, many people will meet you in life, and all they need is a kind word or a bit of encouragement, you know, and to say what they're doing and how their day going and stuff like that, you know. And sometimes they just look at people and there's silence there. And what would it take to say, "Hi, how you doing? Having a good day?" You know, and you're asking the question, "Having a good day?" "Oh, it's not so good." "Why is that then?" And it's up to you. You can lift that person, or you can drop that person. Why not lift them? Isn't it nice just to lift that person? Lift them up. And when you do the right thing, people are always going to be able to trust you. And that's a huge thing in life. You know, I'm very fortunate, and I do believe a lot of people trust me. And I've got a lot of people that I've been in business with over the years, and they've come into my primary business now that I spoke a little bit about yesterday. And some of those are from 25, 30 years ago. But why did they join me? They didn't join me because I sent them a link for an opportunity. They joined me because they were looking for an opportunity, and they trusted me. And that was the reason for joining, which I think is great. And there's a lot of people out there that I know in business, and I've known and watched over the years, and they call themselves, it tickles me, they call themselves gurus and life coaches, and some of them are like in their 30s. I think, you haven't lived yet, you haven't lived long enough to be a life coach. What are you talking about? And maybe it's me, I just find it hilarious, and leaders and that sort of stuff. I'm a leader, I'm this, that and the other. It's okay. And that's a label that you might want or you feel you need. I don't think I've ever called myself that. Other people have called me that, you know, because I've been in marketing for 40 odd years, and it's nice, it's a compliment. But you know, I don't see myself that. I just see myself as someone who's helpful, and that's all I want to be in life, to people and to businesses and to organisations and to animals or to anything. It's just helpful. You know, I was on something about a year ago in our primary business called the Julie and Milo show. And it was like an interview, and we were talking about different things. And they said, well, how would you want to be remembered, you know, when the day comes, a long time ahead? And I said, just as someone who helped, you know. They go, is that it? Yeah, just someone who helped somebody, you know. What else is there? But I'm going to quickly talk about, I can't get it on my laptop now because I actually copied and pasted all this conversation, and I abbreviated some of it. But basically, on Saturday night, Sunday morning, at 1 o'clock in the morning, I was actually laying down watching a movie, and this woman said, "Hi Paul, how you doing?" I thought, "Oh, okay. Hi, how are you?" "Oh, good to connect with you." I said, "Oh, okay." And she said, "Have you had a good day?" I said, "Well, it's I'm actually in bed, and I've been in bed watching telly." I said, "I'm actually in bed, and it's 1 a.m. here." And she went, "Oh, okay. Where are you?" And then I immediately think, and you're probably thinking the same thing, "Oh, where are you?" Therefore, we're on Facebook, and she's trying to connect with me, and she hasn't bothered to look at my profile. So if she'd looked at my profile, she would have realised I'm from the UK and where I'm from, and she would have seen pictures and everything else. "Oh, where are you?" I said, "Okay, I'm from." I said, "UK, born and bred." I thought I'll play along with it, and she said, "Oh, I'm in Amsterdam." So okay, so similar sort of time, maybe an hour forward. I don't know, maybe not. But and then she says, I'm sitting here working out my withdrawal system for my team in my network. I thought, oh, okay. So she's now going to tell me at 1 a.m. on a Sunday morning what she's doing. That she's doing something for her team, and she's telling me that she's involved in network marketing. So I know what's coming. There's a pitch coming. There's something coming. I said, okay, that's all right. And I said, that's good. Mm-hmm. You know, and then she said something else, and I said, well, from experience, you know, and I've been involved in the home-based business for around about 40 years, on and off, but I just found that it's better to do business in business hours, because it pays better, and then the rest of the time you get to have a life, you know. She said, oh yeah, but I've always done this for years and years. I've always sort of lived on 3 hours sleep, and then I, you know, sometimes worked till midnights, and her grammar wasn't very good for some reason. I worked till midnights a lot, and then I get up as early as I possibly can and start again. And I said, yeah, I used to do that, and that was a huge mistake. And she said, why? I said, because it didn't work for me. She said, well, what do you mean? Why didn't it work for me? I said, well, what was the point in doing it? Was it for money or fame? I said, but all it really did for me was to lose a marriage and my kids. I said, so, you know, all that rushing around, trying to be famous, trying to build empires, you know, it can be a good thing, can be a bad thing. And I said, but it's taken a few years to try and do things the right way and have some sort of balance in life. And she said, oh, okay. And I said, but anyway, it's late. I'll say goodnight, and have a good weekend, because I didn't want her to continue. I knew there was a pitch coming. I didn't want her to continue with this pitch. And sure enough, Sunday morning, I started to watch some of the television, and it was getting ready for the Queen's funeral on the Monday. Started to watch some of that, and up she pops again. Morning, Paul. How are you? I said, I'm good. I slept well. And she said, oh, I didn't realise I was doing this and that. And then she continued, and then she said, you know, those famous words, you know, do you invest? And I said, no. Not at all. And she went, oh, surely you must invest. I said, no. And she said, I'm with this company called Capital such and such. And it was a long pitch about how I should look at this thing, and I can get in for next to nothing. It was just £100. And I thought, you haven't really got to know me properly yet, and you're pitching me about this thing. And I tried to politely sort of say to her, it's the wrong way to go about it. And in the end, I said, look, I'm involved in a company that has sort of changed the way we do things, where we don't have to sell, we don't have to recruit, we don't have to drive traffic. They do it all for you, and we will pay them a reasonable fee every single month for doing that, which will allow us to have a life. So I'm actually not looking for an opportunity. There's other things I do in life, but I'm not looking for a fresh opportunity. I'm quite happy as I am, but thanks very much. I wish you all the best. And she kept coming back and back and back. And I tried to make it a bit clear that I really wasn't interested. And then she said, yeah, I understand what you're saying, but, you're missing out. And she said, your profile, something like your profile states you as a business person, and so therefore you should look at this. And I thought, you actually haven't looked at my profile, have you? And she's quoting these things. And it was, after a while, she said the same thing in 3 sentences that she said 10 or 12 minutes before. She's just copying and pasting now to try and get me to look at it again. And in the end, I said, look, I'm doing my best here to try and be polite with you, because, your profile looks quite good, but your presentation to me isn't. You're coming across as really pushy. I've already said it's not something I need to look at or want to look at. I'm really happy and content where I am, and I'm working with a smashing bunch of people. I have a lovely CEO, and I see the future is really bright, and I can help a lot of people. Well, you can help people with this. I said, but you're only talking to me about money. That's all you're talking to me about. You haven't mentioned anything else except money. And she said, well, yeah, but you could do really well with this. I said, my hand is hovering over the block button. I'm about to block you. So, please, I think we need to end the conversation. And I wish you well. Have a good weekend. And I ended the conversation. And I made sure when I went back into my Facebook and I went into my friends that I totally unfriended this girl. So that's what you've got to be careful of. Facebook's really good, and you can meet some lovely people there. But before you accept their friend request, go into their profile first, see where they're from, see if you've got lots of things, have you got things in common with them, and also they might know a lot of people that you might know. However, that can also backfire, because last year there was a lot of people that I saw, oh, you're also friends with a lot of people that are in my business. And when I found that out, next minute, this woman is, from last year, was guaranteeing $500,000 within about 2 months. And then we put it on our websites. Avoid this woman, she's a scam artist, but she's friending us all because she thinks we're all business orientated, and because we all know each other, we're all going to sign up. And it doesn't work that way. So when you're looking for friends, or when you're accepting a friend request, I actually take it as quite a nice compliment. Because if someone is a proper friend, they will then sort of say, well, we'd like to be friends with you. I think we've got lots in common. I see we've got a few friends that in common, and they mention something about that friend or that area, or you went to that school. And I thought, oh, actually, they would make quite a nice friend. And then I don't never pitch them my business, and make it real clear that they're not going to pitch me their business. I've actually got, which I sent this woman, I've actually got a caption of a guy going like this, and underneath it says, make friends to make friends, not to pitch your business, because it's very unprofessional. It's a great caption, and it does sort of cut people off quite quickly. So if any of you would like that caption, send me an email to incomedriven@gmail.com, and I would happily send you that caption, because it stops it all dead, and it shows someone that, hey, maybe I'm being a bit unprofessional here. I don't need to be like that. But if someone wants to friend you on Facebook or LinkedIn or anyone else, it's a compliment, because they've looked at you. Hopefully they've looked at your profile properly. They look at you as someone perhaps they could trust, or someone of interest, someone that could add value to them, and maybe of service to them, because who could you help? Who do you know? You might be able to help them in a different way, not just by business. So that's me done for the day. I've actually gone a little bit over my time that I wanted to cover today. I wanted to make it a little bit shorter, so sorry for that. But hopefully you've got something out of that. Keep those 3 rules in mind. Don't forget, number 1, do the right thing. Number 2 is do everything to the best of your abilities. And number 3, make sure you show people you care, because I think a lot of you on here are going to be successful, and you're going to be very successful financially. There's no question about that, especially if you're involved in the things that I'm involved in ourselves. But when you die, it ends there. That's where the money stops. So rather than just be successful and just chase the money, try and be significant to other people. Be someone of significance, because if you're someone of significance and they know and trust you, like and trust you, and say this is a good person to be around, they have no agenda. They're not looking for anything. They're not trying to get money off me. They're not trying to do things. They're not trying to steal my team. I've had people in the past and they've come on board and they've just, next minute, they want to have all your addresses of your team because they will help your team. And I've watched them steal databases. And I'm thinking, you don't want to be around people like that. So be careful of who you're around and what they've got you doing and what you've got you saying. It's your social media, it's your time. But be someone of significance, because that will last a lot longer when you're not here. So, as I said yesterday, years versus visits. I can't promise you lots of years, but I can promise you another visit, and I'll see you tomorrow. I'm back at work tomorrow. I've actually had 4 days off, which has been really nice, and to have that little bit of time off and just to relax, really. That's all I've been doing, is relaxing and making notes. I make journals. I've always made journals, so I'm just making different journals and training notes and things like that. But I'm back at work tomorrow, and for the next 2 or 3 days. And so I'll probably come out the same sort of time, 6ish. It's not a bad time to come out. The park's quite empty. Everyone's been walking with the dogs. I was fascinated earlier. I was actually watching a guy training his sheepdog, and the control that dog had, but the love that dog had for his owner was actually quite nice and refreshing to watch. So when you finish with my call now, thank you very much for coming on board to visit Paul Daly. I'm really pleased you come back to visit me today. I'm going to come and visit you tomorrow, so hopefully you come back. But in the next 10 or 15 minutes, think about who you could visit today, this morning, this afternoon, this evening, wherever you are around the world, and give someone a video call, give them a chat, say hi, how you doing? Haven't spoke to you in a little while, how's things going? Things going well for you? How's your father, mother, sister? Show that genuine interest. How are you doing? We don't say hi enough. We don't get involved with people enough. And I think it's something that we could learn to reconnect again, because as I say, there's never a wrong time to do the right thing. There's never a right time to do the wrong thing. So thanks very much today, and I hope to see you tomorrow. If you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, please press the subscribe button and that little bell with a little thing each side, and it'll pop up whenever I make a video, and have a watch that. And there's lots of other videos in my channel that you might want to have a quick look at. There's various things of interest there. And share this with other people, like I did with that lady sitting on the bench today with Sophie, and she said, I like this idea of more visits. You've made me think. Great. I've only been out for 10 or 15 minutes, and I've made one more person think. And that's all we need. We need one more person, one more family at a time. See you anyway. See you tomorrow. Thanks for visiting me. Bye-bye.